So we do have a quorum. We just have a minimum quorum of 5. I'm sure the others will show up here shortly. We have a number of presenters, so we want to make sure that we move along. Our main purpose today in this meeting is going over the budget information and getting that ready for to get sent out to the printers ready for March. And we need to review the agenda, and right off the bat, I need to have us add an executive session for this meeting in order to review the superintendent contract. So we're going to add that.
You don't.
Just adding that in there. So that is done. Anybody else have anything on the agenda? All right, and we're going to continue on. We are going to open up for public comment. Before that, I'm going to just read through our preamble for public comment. The purpose of it is to make sure that the public understands what happens with public comment and what the board can and cannot do. The board welcomes comments, but it is not able to take any action on them other than to direct the public to the appropriate staff member or to the complaint procedure. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Time may not be ceded to another speaker. Comments are to be addressed to me, the board chair, or the board as a whole, not to any individual on the board, on the staff, or in the public. Please raise your hand and wait to speak until you are asked to by me. Please identify yourself with your first and last name and your town of residence. Please refrain from restating comments that have already been shared. You can express agreement with those comments. Order and decorum shall be observed by everyone. Shouting and profanity are prohibited. As the board chair, I maintain order and form of the meeting. So I'm going to open it up now for any comment.
All right. So if you're online and you want to participate in public comment, please raise your hand. No.
So we will move on then. So we have the group that Michael has been working with Up for Learning. So I'm going to just basically turn it over to you, Michael. You can set up for these young people to share with us what they did and sort of built their.
These guys know that I like to be in the background. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I'm going to get myself to the background as fast as I can. But I really want to say, I want to give a big shout out to, we had like 25-ish students from Orange Southwest, Randolph Union High School, White River Valley, and Montpelier. And so a big shout out to the work that they've done. I don't want to steal their thunder, but part of this project is going to the legislature and talking with the legislature about vision and about the process they went through. And that looks like it's setting up for either January 30th or February 13th. And so I'm really proud of the work that they've done. And I think you'll find their presentation to be really interesting, really helpful. I personally wish this had happened a lot more across Vermont. This is the only group of students from multiple districts that I know of that have done visioning work like this. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I don't know of them. So, all right.
Yeah.
How about you guys introduce and I'll get your slideshow up.
My name is Harold Quayle, and I'm a 10th grader. My name is Jota Armstrong. I'm an 11th grader at Randolph Union High School.
To present our slideshow.
All right. You all won't be able to see the people on the screen, and when it's done, we can get back to that. All right. So
It's hidden behind the
I think it's hiding behind here. And I don't see a great option to minimize that, so I'm going to get off the screen as far as I can and call it good.
Hello everyone. First I'd like to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to share what we've done with you. As Mr. Clark said, we're a group that worked with 2 other high schools, about 25 students. We came up with ideas in what we want the future education for us to look like. So yeah, start.
So what we had was a task that was like what introduced us all and got us all together and showed what we like to describe it.
Yeah. So we wanted to create a group of students, like I said, to bring our ideas from our individual high schools together and bring those ideas to legislature. And we did that through collecting data from our high schools. So we met, I think, 8 times, 7 or 8 times, something
Sure.
like that, over the last 6 months, something like that. And we came up with ideas on how we're going to gather the data. We went back to our high schools, we gathered data, we came back together, we put it all together and we came up with some ideas. It's a photo of us as a group. I think we're missing Montpelier.
Yeah. Okay, so this is just a little graph, or not a graph, but this shows our steps. So our first step is to build relationships with each other as partners in trying to improve the education in Vermont. And following that, we worked to develop critical awareness to understand the topics that we were going to hopefully discuss. And after that, we came up with the issues that we thought were important to address that we saw already in our own school districts. And we followed that with making individual plans for each school to meet with the community. And then we met with communities in our towns. For example, at Randolph, we hosted like a sort of open house discussion meeting that followed a community dinner in the cafeteria. And then we finally came together as another group, all of the schools. And then now we're just going to work on implementing the action that we need for change. So what we've learned, the biggest things that stuck out to us was that we needed different learning opportunities between districts. Things like flexible pathways, a varying amount of support, depends on who needs it, and a sense of belonging. Basically, data around disparity.
Click. Gotcha.
Okay, so overall, we came up with 5 pillars that create the foundation for a great school. Here we have academic freedom, variety of opportunities, real-world community awareness and involvement, support belonging to a strong school community, and consistent expectations.
In terms of academic freedom, we wanted more opportunity catered to our individual student needs. So if some students wanted to pursue more advanced classes, for example, we wanted opportunity to do that. And if some kids wanted to do something related to whatever their aspiration is. We wanted opportunity catered directly towards them.
On the next slide, you see, we also found that students could benefit from more opportunities and variety of opportunities. Things like soft skills, rather than just focusing on things like reading, writing, math, all that, but really focusing on like things that they need to develop and become their own human beings and to thrive in the culture that we have. So on the next slide, we also figured out that things can become far too local. And so it's important to expand our horizons and really involve more community and also educate more about things that are outside of our own hometowns. Especially when it comes to learning how to discuss different opinions and perspectives with people who aren't necessarily your closest friends. And on the next slide, we have, we wanted school communities to feel tangible and to really be strong in their support of the students and the teachers, like more connection and foundational relationships between all community members, especially emphasizing the mutual respect and understanding. And then on this last slide here, we have, we need consistent and reasonable expectations in order for students to succeed. I think one of the biggest things was that it's really hard for students to fail because in a way we almost teach that failing is bad when really it's just how you learn. And so if we have these consistent, reasonable expectations, it can help prepare students for the real world and give them the skills they need to find success. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you all for listening. Are there any questions?
So is this, are you gonna, what information will you then present to the legislature? Is it gonna be more of this in a little more detail or? Yeah.
Essentially. I think we gathered a lot of data and we're going to compile that further into presenting it to the legislature. So we really have a basis to say like, this is what we want. This is the data we have to show that. And we want you to hear something about it. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a hard question, but of the things that you put up there, what do you say in kind of an encapsulated way are missing components in the education as you see it here now and would be growing edges for where you want it to go?
I think student voice is really like the main thing. That's just me. I think that most of the people in legislature haven't been through the educational system in a very long time. This is a new generation with a bunch of new children going through it. I think that if we want to succeed as individuals going through it, we really need to have voice in what we want to learn and how we want to learn.
I also think that a sense of belonging and like support between students and teachers is really important in order for students to feel comfortable in the learning environment that they are forced to be part of.
Any good questions?
Will you share a link for in the date time in your committee when you're presenting? So that's first.
Yeah, once we get us, I should by the end of the week have it finalized or the beginning of next week. We're trying to figure out when our group is best able to meet. The legislature's given us both of those days and times on that.
Meetings are now, they're recorded now.
There, yep,
They're
So
recorded.
Is it real time recording or is it?
Yep.
Can you go back at this?
both.
Oh,
Yep,
all right, nice.
as we live in perpetuity. I thank you both for coming out. I know that it's a busy time of year. Whoop, got a question.
Yeah, one more. I know that there were efforts initially to try and have, I think, like 6 locations around the state that were trying to engage in the process. And just
No.
curious, in your,
No. I reached out to like 6 that were in Winooski that were in our region. So our program was centered in central Vermont only.
So my question is going to apply still. What sense do you have that it's generic to other districts of the state?
I think you guys can really speak to, I mean, you had White River Valley and you had,
We had like White River Valley and Montpelier.
yeah,
I think that the schools are very different. Montpelier, from my experience, I've seen it as a very large school with different needs to our smaller school. I really think that, I don't know, I think we covered the spectrum pretty well in terms of the diverse.
Are you saying that, are you asking if we've made our data based on things that might not be constant across the entire state?
I'm not in a position to assess that, and neither are you really either.
yeah, I think, and I don't think that's what we're trying to say to the legislature.
Okay.
I think what we're trying to say to the legislature is, here's a group, small group, 25 kids representing 3 districts. There hasn't been an opportunity for this kind of thing to happen. I think Jodo shared with you at the beginning that we had like maybe 8 sessions, morning sessions that we worked together and did a lot of work, and they did a lot of work with the community. I think they're really giving you the soft version of it, because not only did they do that community meeting, like, I'm proud of them. So here you guys go. They did multiple meetings with students. They did meetings with just the faculty, right? And then they opened it up to anybody in the community. And, you know, we filled the, I always forget what the room is. Come on, help me. The learning, no,
I don't know. I just-
the PBL lab. Thank you, Harold. You saved me. There you go. We filled the PBL lab with people and had really good conversations. I think what was interesting to me when I think about it, I won't lead them. I'll ask you. When you guys were talking about the different things that students talked about that they wanted for education to be, finish the sentence. Was it, how did it compare amongst the conversations? Were you like yelling at each other saying, no, not that, or?
We met with every single grade group. I think we went 9 through 11. I think we did do 12 because of senior projects and stuff like that. But it was pretty consistent throughout every single one that what they wanted was more opportunity, and they really wanted. I mean, I know that a few students wanted to actually be a part of the group itself because they thought it was an amazing idea to have student voice in our educations. I think that was really like the main point throughout everything.
Yes.
And when you compare that to what Montpelier and White River?
They had the same thing. They wanted everyone in our small group of people. I think it was consistent that almost all the students wanted to be part of their educations.
I think a big thing that came up multiple times was that students wanted to pick the intense or the difficulty of their classes because some found a certain class would be, some found that it was too hard.
Some found that they just weren't interested in them at all. They wanted to learn something that will help them towards their own individual aspirations in their futures.
So just more variety.
Yeah.
More variety and more opportunity. Just in town.
I'll be surprised if either of you are in individualized plans, but you know what that is?
And individualized.
IEPs, individualized.
Yes. Isn't that what it is? It's just resources that are available to individuals who might struggle or stuff like that.
So
Well
what I'm
said.
going to ask is, should every student be on their own IEP so that they can protect their course?
They kind of are,
That's kind of piece where I was getting at.
right?
I wanted to know where we were in that transitioning.
I think what Martha's talking about, Ms. Hafner's talking about here is personalized learning plans. And the work that you do, like with your the senior project and the stuff that you do leading up to that, it's the work that you're doing in advisory is what she's asking about.
Okay. Can you repeat the question?
I'm somebody that's been in the classroom for a number of years, but I've had 5 years that have been away from it, and I really, so anyways, even 40 years ago, they were talking about individualized plans, but at that point, it was just a very small group of people that had special needs. And that has grown over the years so that it encompasses more people. And I know that there's been talk of having everybody have an individualized IEP. And I'm not really sure where you are on the spectrum, but I'm asking, does the IEP for everybody give you the voice that you're after?
So I think I just want to redirect a little bit. They may not be fully aware of like policy change at the school district level. But I think what Martha's trying to get at is, do you think there's a benefit? So talking about student voice, about how each individual student could shape their engagement with school and their tracks and what classes they take in that. Am I reframing your question, Deborah?
That's fair.
Yeah.
That sounds like an ideal world.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's definitely benefit to allowing students to choose what classes they take and what they can do. I also think it would be really hard to accomplish, especially with the amount of students in the system. I think it needs to be a little bit broader in the sense that, like, I don't know. I guess it's a hard question. I don't know.
You have to address like how many credits a student needs if they only take classes for certain things. I guess the credit system would have to be reimagined
Martha,
on how that worked out.
I just back you up to their slides. More attention to student accommodations, individual student needs, allows for student to fail safely and learn from their mistakes, communication between students and teachers. This all sounds like preparation for the real world. Back up another one, connecting people to community, safe, inclusive spaces, place where identity is valued and explored, adults empowering student voice, backing up to the real world community awareness, relevant events, relevant being the key word. This is what they're interested in and what they need. Mandatory community service, right? Personal finance management, right? I think that they are looking at, and I think that I heard them as they were going through saying, look, we want to make sure that the classes can become there can be more rigor or less rigor, depending, changing the relevance around, changing the way that we teach. We all don't learn about things in the same way. Different classes have different interests for all of us. So,
How was it to work with other students from other? Were you surprised at the commonality? Sometimes there's rivalry.
I thought it was
But
really interesting how different this is. Like, we have PBLs and stuff at this school. I mean, kind of like going towards that where students want to learn different things, and PBLs are an opportunity for us to learn what we want, essentially. And other schools didn't have that opportunity. And I feel like, yeah, senior projects is also a thing. Like, other schools don't have it. We do. Me personally, I think that it would be a good idea to have smaller projects leading up to senior projects to prepare us better for them. I know that there are like student-led conferences in Randolph. I don't think that really prepares us as much as we need for senior project.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
thanks, gentlemen. All right, give me a minute. I will get us back to our regular program. Thank you, guys.
Are you dismissed?
You're in charge, man. Here you go. Thank you.
No longer.
Say bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up, have an update on our facilities records.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Warren. Y'all have the facilities updated report. Pretty self-explanatory. If you have any questions on it, Russ and I are here to answer those questions. Please don't ask any questions on the first two. I'm going to get into those in just a moment. There is an error on the report. There's the 241 new work order. 100 shy of what it actually is. And to date, there was over 580 work orders have been completed. There's about 40 open work orders that was not included payment today. We have lost 50% of our maintenance crew, which is one guy. And we lost Sean, he went to a state job. It was a very good opportunity for him. He came and asked us permission to do that. Of course, we applauded, we were going to miss him. But we applauded his decision. It's a good one for him. I had a career before. So if anybody for a good maintenance opportunity, come knocking on our door. There's no questions on the facilities report. I will go to the transformer and the environmental control project. Silence indicates to me there are no questions. The transformer project,
Can
which you
anybody
all
tell me
know
what
very well.
we're looking at?
Page four.
Page four.
The transformer project, which you are all very familiar with, we have elected to go out for a third-party electrical engineer to do the actual engineering work, which will include the bid documents, coming up with bid documents for us. We will review them before we go out. They will also manage the bidding and the any negotiation that has to happen. That will again be approved by the administration here. And then they will, once we get submittal from the contractors that we receive bids or proposals from, they will review those to make sure that they meet our requirements. The cost of that was $5,000. I wanted to go outside for money from that, but my business manager insisted on it came out of our budget. So I just want to bring you up to date on that. The final project I want to talk about is environmental control for this facility. I think Mr. Clark wants to present something, and then I'll take what he says as a segue to go to the nuts and bolts of it. Is that correct?
Perfect.
Comments?
Sure. So, I think I've shared earlier in the year that this building, there's a perceived moisture problem in this building. We went and had air quality testing done, and the air quality inside was 10 times better than the air quality outside. Specifically tested for mold, much more outside than inside. But doesn't matter, right? Because the perception is there's something going on, and the building does have moisture. We have portable dehumidifiers that run in classrooms that get emptied, and we're at a spot where this building, no matter what happens moving forward, this is a building that is in the best shape in our district. It's set up for a future kind of learning setup, and so we need to invest in this building, is my belief. You also are in this interesting spot where you have about $1.9 million in your building reserve account right at the moment. And later tonight, you're going to talk about what to do with the 2004-2005 surplus, which is going to be about 1.8 million. And so you're also headed into a time where mergers are scheduled to happen under legislation 2 years after this year. So we're 2.5 years away from that merger happening. When those mergers happen, I don't think there's necessarily clarity about what's going to happen with the reserve accounts that you have. Talk a little bit about that tonight too. But my suggestion to you is this is an opportunity where you're in control of those funds. We should get this project up and going. It's going to be a big project. It is going to require us to go out and follow Vermont education construction law. We'll have to get permission from the state to do the project. This isn't one that just you are going to approve. So it's going to be big, and has to do with environmental control. So I don't think it's just addressing moisture or whatnot, and that's where these guys are going to talk more. But it's really what I've said to them is, I think we need to have the building be ready to operate. We're headed towards the opportunities throughout the year, including in the summer. This is an important part of whatever our plan moving forward, I think, is going to be. And so I think that's important for this board to consider and to think about while you still are in control of the funds and while you still have the time available to make the project happen. So I thought that would be a good place for you to start, hear a little bit about it, and kind of go from there. So I think, Bob, that was the big picture version. Was there anything you wanted me to say that I haven't said yet?
As a segue, so what Mr. Clark gave that assignment to Wes and I, and we went out. We went to Lindbergh again. We have a history with Lindbergh. I personally have a long history with Lindbergh from engineering and construction projects. They're very well known in the state. They're involved in the Burlington project, which is coming in the budget, by the way. Not by month, but it is in the budget. So I approached Randy, one of the principals of Lindbergh, and gave him the mission as we saw it. And he came back with a proposal to look at this facility. So we can control the environmental now. Another reason why I wanted to go to Lindbergh is because they have already done that work on all district buildings. So they have a very, very good idea of what they're going to find in this facility. They still have to deep dive it. We gave them a scope of the project back when we did the entire district. And I think we spent $230,000 on it, something like that. And so with the scope that we gave them, very, very defined, which we'll share with you if you want to. I'm not prepared to share that this evening with you, but if you want it, I can show it to you. They came back, and what I would like to present and request is for them to do an entire study on this, all architect, engineering, with the exception of some structural and civil engineering work that might be done. I do have a allowance built in this number for that. That is coming in at about $189,000. That structural engineering and civil engineering side of it, which we have a lot of that capability in-house, we still will want a third-party engineer to sign off on that. I'm not a Vermont licensed engineer, neither is Wes, so we want a Vermont licensed engineer to sign off on that. And we do have another $10,000 at night. So it's going to hug that $200,000 fee. And what that will include is all schematic design, refinement, review, presenting to that. Then we'll go into the pre-qualification of all any contractors that do submit proposals, or anybody that we target to reach out there and advertise and ask them to submit your proposals or quotes. Then there'll be a design development phase that will be inclusive in that number. We'll go on to construction documents that will have to be made. And then there'll be a bid administration period. Once we decide on a bid, a proposal, there'll be a pre-construction and submittal review, all review, to make sure that we have dotted our I's, crossed our T's, and we're not missing anything. And then that also includes them managing that actual construction and the renovation of the environmental control for this facility. Well, that does not include a clerk of the works or an internal engineer that we would need to hire or have that expertise that works for the district. It's kind of not the middleman, he's supposed to be the middle guy, but you do want somebody that works for the district to management. And I think the vernacular is put to the works, okay? I can break out the cost of those phases if you want that much detail. I will. Okay, phase one is 22 grand, phase two is 22 grand, phase three is $55,000, phase four it's 14, phase five is 27. The construction administration is just under $50,000. So that adds up to $189,000. Contingency for structural and civil engineering, an additional $10,000. As an engineer, I mean, I'm an old guy, a lot of experience, and this will be, I built 9 plants in my career, and this is the way you need to do this if you're going to upgrade this and bring it to current code, current and requirements for today's environment. And this building will be one of those buildings that are going to survive. We don't know what that's going to look like, but having that environmental control is absolutely going to make this building shine. The building already shines. It's a nice plant. But having complete environmental, not just the cold side, but the heat side, the moisture side, humidity. And it will take a lot of the complaints that we're getting from the occupancy. Any questions?
So aside from the
Ms.
dehumidifiers,
Martha, I need to come closer, is that all right? I
aside,
can't hear you.
okay.
I have my hearing aids in, Wes.
So aside from the dehumidifiers in the classroom that are reflecting a lot of excess water, where else are you seeing the water buildup and what kind of damage might that be causing, or do you know?
Whether you believe in climate change or not, I think we all know that the heat, the climate's changing, okay? The causes of that is what's for debate. So not getting into that political side of it, the climate is warming up. So we have moisture issue here. And those standalone dehumidifiers are not working. They don't work in your homes. You need an environmental control. You need cooling. You need filtration. And on top of that, that's going to get any biological nasties out of here. If those dehumidifiers, if I go into your homes and look at your dehumidifiers or humidifiers and take charm samples, I'm going to find all kinds of biologicals on it. That's just, I don't even have to go in your house and look at it. I know that's the case. Want to bet? I got lots of money to bet on easy money coming at me, so we'll do that. So that. It'll eliminate those dehumidifiers. It'll take them out, and it'll eliminate humidifier, humidity that we need to add into the plant during the winter time. So you'll keep your relative and absolute humidity basically the same year round, and will be within the directive of the Agency of Education and the Department of Education, if it still exists at that time. That answer your question?
It does, but I'm going to ask an adjacent one, and it may or may not be a part of your scope. But a lot of it seems to be air quality and heat quality that goes in the air and all that. What about any kind of germicide kind of protection if you're playing with all those systems? Is there anything that fits in that mode?
Well, we don't want to, germicide is an introduction of a chemical. We don't want to do that. We want to alleviate the need for anything like that through environmental control.
So when you have good environmental control, you have better control over disease transmission. Is that your question?
The ventilation system and your filtration will get out any of those nasties. Okay, but we do not want to introduce any germicide, herbicide, pesticide, anything like that into the facility.
But I'm under the impression, for example, that like UV lights can make a difference in terms of germs.
UV light? Well, sure it does. Sure it does. But it's
So
not.
is there anything
It's
that's
not real effective. It's not real effective. All you backpackers and all your outsiders that go out, there are all these water filtrations that count on UV light. Anybody uses them in here, you need to stop. All right, because it does not work. It works to a certain degree. So
So I think-
we have introduced UV light. I don't mean to interrupt you again, man.
Sorry.
We have introduced UV light in a and a reverse osmosis system that we have on the district properties. State came out and told us we got to get rid of it. It's infected. And it's an engineering and maintenance hassle too. So we were like, oh, okay, we'll do that. We'll do that.
So I think this is the exact reason why we would want to hire an engineering firm to oversee this process,
Sure.
because they are up to date on the most recent science.
Yeah, but you
related-
also, it'll take the liability away from your district
Right.
and not your internal.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is having owned a house and having water damage
Mhm.
without us knowing about it is when you have better control of your environment, your physical plant lasts much longer because you're not having any corrosion or rotting or things that are happening behind everything you can't see.
Don't minimize that. I don't want to say we won't have any of it. Because I can't control what you do in your classroom. If you're a teacher, I can't control what you do, especially if you're a science teacher.
Terrible.
I will add that inclusive of this project is carpeting structures. They go out. They go out. We'll get any kind of flooring, that type of seating in here. It's all pretty good. But anyway, that's all included. Now, that's not, the cost of that will not be the furniture of that. This is just the engineering side of it. So I'm requesting that $20,000 for that. Very strong. I'm hoping that, and you guys know me by now. I wouldn't be that, I wouldn't stand in front of you and ask that kind of money unless I really did it. And it needs to happen for this facility.
I think where we're at with this is because it was a project that has to go out to the state bidding. We think that this is getting us ready to go out and do what the state needs to do, but we're going to reach out to the state before. So we're just introducing the concept to you tonight. You're going to hear more about it next time, and that's where we're probably going to ask you to make some sort of decision about a start out of the capital reserve accounts. But for right now, I just wanted to introduce the project. And I wanted to get a little bit of a feel to say, should we spend any more time and energy on this?
Very quickly, I'm not even really familiar with the complaints of the students,
It's not the adults.
adults. What are we hearing? Is musty smells or something?
So this spring or summer, as we came back to school, maybe even fall, they talk about smell. Then they talk about actually having people bring in their mold kits and set them down on the table. Now, not super effective because the challenge with the mold kit is there's mold in this room right now. There's mold in your house right now. You go in your kitchen, right?
Not mine.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Right? So I think there's that perception out there so that it doesn't whether it's how accurate I mean, when we do the air quality testing and the air quality comes out really good, that still doesn't help people feel better.
So are we spending a lot of money to make people feel better, or is there a real problem here?
Do we want kids and teachers and buildings that they're experiencing smells that are making them uncomfortable and feeling unsafe? It seems like there's something going on that we'd want to assess, and this is real safety for learning if people feel comfortable like we want our facilities to be places that people want to be in.
I also feel like it's a proactive maintenance approach to helping maintain a building. So like there is, yes, is it perception versus reality question? And also like it's a 25-year-old building and it's probably time to evaluate the environmental components of the building.
So just
And you have
to,
Sam with his hand up too.
just to clarify a little bit, as far as do we need to do it? As the person who manages a lot of it, so heat and cool, the system that we have is what they call a two-pipe system. So in order to cool this building in the summer months, we have 40-degree water going through our heat pipes. So what does 40-degree water do when it's hitting an 80-degree window? Condensation. So now we've got leaks. And so we're trying to manage that. And then the flip side of that is tonight is pretty comfortable in here. Probably too comfortable, but we have a lot of spaces that we're chasing our tails to keep under 75 degrees. And then we've got spaces that are running 66, 67 degrees. So the equipment is just so outdated that it's a constant for us to try to manage it. And the idea here is we'll kill two birds with one stone if we make the whole envelope environmentally sound and function like a modern office building in that sense. So that you've got fluctuation, but you're pretty much going to maintain a steady, controlled environment year round.
Thank you.
I'll mention one other word. I've mentioned the UV light as a potential. Ozone generators are also known to be very effective in trying to just
Yeah.
get rid of
And-
smoke smells and odors.
And like Bob says too, we've done some of this with the UV and we had them in multiple different areas. And essentially the state says, you're wasting your time. No, we don't want to see that. But we're always open to new ideas. And that again goes to where the engineers will guide us. They're not gonna tell us definitively what we gotta do, but they're gonna say, this is the best thing for that. To make it the best way possible.
Rachel and then Sam.
Might be quick. This is something you are recommending.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Sam?
Yeah, Bob West, it seems like we had quite a saga around the roof repairs that needed to happen over the last few years. Do we feel like this is a byproduct of that, or do we feel like we've solved those leaking issues and that is no longer contributing, or maybe this solve is part of fixing those moisture issues?
Those are first parts.
So it's basically has the roof repair, the roof replacement, to the best of our knowledge, have all been repaired.
Yes.
Do I think that that contributed to the failures that we're seeing? No, not really. I mean, it had some isolated classroom and even a restroom or two that it affected, but there was such a smaller area. I don't think it contributed to the overall. I mean, it didn't contribute to the age of the building. I mean, the
No,
equipment.
no,
the
it's
equipment's
exactly
26
what I
years old.
said. We had localized penetration because of the roof situation. And when we replaced that roof 4 years ago, we took that opportunity to replace some of those RTUs at the same time. So the answer is yes, it corrected those localized issues. The roof needed to be repaired because it was, or replaced because it's coming up to its lifespan. We concentrated on where the penetration was actually occurring. The contractor came back and repaired those areas that were failing. This is in addition to what needs to happen though.
Okay.
Because we can't control the heat in the summertime.
Okay.
And if you look at buildings of this age and older in Vermont, they're designed for keeping them warm in the winter and summer's what it is. We open the windows up.
Were there any concerns or complaints about water quality in the building? That's just something I've heard from the water district. And is that within the scope of this, or that's totally
The
different?
water here is city water. All right, all the water fountains are filtered water. We have no additional, jump in if you know of any, but we have no additional systems to do anything that water like we do at Brookfield. Okay, we have none of those here. Okay, we have filtration, that's it. We have reverse osmosis out there. We did have the UV out there. We have removed that. We have chlorination out there. We have chlorination out at Braintree also. We do not chlorinate, the town does it. We don't fluoride our water at those satellite plants. The town, so we're on town water here. And it's good quality water. It's good quality water. but we still filtrate it. Still filter it.
So we just will wait to hear a little bit more about this project. And moving
Right, we
forward.
want to see how we're going to do it this
Funds
state, and
necessary.
yes,
Okay.
it sounds like you have an interest in hearing more.
Yes.
We're gonna leave if you don't have any questions from an engineering standpoint, folks.
I just want to verify that this transformer that we're spending a bit on.
I mean, the item that keeps us awake at night, yes, ma'am.
Yes, but we're investing money in it, but if say we needed to change a building.
Oh, you know what, I'm glad you brought that up,
That
because
hit us, right? We're not like investing and then all of a sudden, okay.
I actually,
Tell me.
now
tell me
I'm an old
later.
guy and I'm gonna retire soon, so I don't have to put a feather in the boss's cap, because I'm short timer, right? But I do have a bullet point here, because he's asked me already, said, are we gonna be able to use that transformer in the future? The answer is yes. With this caveat, of course, right? I'm
Uh-oh.
an engineer, I can't, there's always caveat. It depends on location of where the state and the committees decide where these schools are gonna be, and the design at that time for those electrical needs. So, yes, that transformer can be used. I don't know if it's gonna fit in that design, but the district will get some money for it. Because it's still gonna be, if it happens in 5 years, it's still only gonna be a 5-year-old transformer.
So can you sell it? Like, you know.
Might be able to sell it. Okay,
We'll put it on Facebook.
eBay, eBay.
I think Brookfield garage sale.
I forgot to bring that up. Sorry, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, good.
But yeah,
But he did bring that up. He said that, he didn't say you, Miss Kaplan. He said you guys were gonna bring that up. So I'm glad you did.
Yeah, well, because we're in this.
Oh, that's a great question.
We're in
We're gonna
this
spend-
balance.
We're gonna spend, you know, it's gonna beat the dangles out of $500,000. Okay? That's a lot of money. Maybe not to you, but it's for me.
Well, it's a lot of money to us. To be clear to everyone listening, that's a lot of money to us.
Okay,
Thank you for that. question. Thank you for reminding me of it.
all right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See you later, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
Anytime that you have any questions, Wes and I are always available. I actually like to hear from you.
we like it better at 6 in the morning.
So.
Good night.
All right.
I'll call you when I'm looking at the weather tomorrow, Wes.
Okay. So next up, we are looking at our final budget numbers.
Ready? Here comes. So, we are coming with more good news, right? That's the name of the game so far, most of the way. Braintree, little bump, right? So, I guess I'm going to start you with, I'm going to look at page 100. I'll tell you where I'm walking around so that we go. Sorry, I'm going to look at 102 is where I'm going to start. Okay. So I'm going to start at 102 because that talks about our ballot language. And this year's ballot language, if you decide to move forward as presented, will be, shall the voters of the Orange Southwest School District approve the school board to expend $29,159,606, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. The Orange Southwest School District estimates this proposed budget, if approved, will result in per pupil education spending of $15,339.41, which is 1.22% lower than per pupil spending for the current year. So we will spend less per pupil next year than what we have this year. Okay? So I think that's pretty good. And How'd we get there? Well, two things got us there. The first, and I think the thing that I have to give a shout out to our Robin as our business manager and Crystal LaRock as our data manager. You know that every time we come, we talk about, I can't tell you what this number is going to be or that number. And equalized pupil is one of the big numbers that I can't tell you until this is the meeting, right? We signed off. And in the process, we went from the first numbers that the AOE gave us, we would have lost equalized pupils, to we gained 28 equalized pupils, right? And they fought for every single one of them. And I want to remember, I think this is an important time to remind the community. Part of the reason that we had the resources to do that was last year, you'll remember that one of the adds to this year's budget that I had was increasing our data manager by 0.4 FTE. And she more than paid for herself by bringing us from a negative number of equalized pupils to a positive 28. When you just stop and think about what her salary is versus the revenue that just came in on just that number. So there's an example where the expenditure budget going up actually is helping tax rates. She had the time to do it. She had the expertise, and she's already shifted gears to say, okay, now I went out and I found and I got the data that we already had. How do I work with the principals to create more data? And what I mean by that is the weighting formula for equalized pupil or for poverty students, for equalized pupils that are in poverty. It essentially, those students count as two students. And so right now, the numbers that we get are if people filled out free and reduced lunch, kids that are eligible for Medicaid, those kinds of things. If we have a sustained campaign to go out and get any families that would qualify for free and reduced lunch, but haven't completed that form and aren't using Medicaid, we could increase our equalized pupil again next year. And so she's finished with this year's equalized pupil number, and we literally talked about this at today's cabinet meeting of starting to figure out what are we going to do next year so that, you know, we pick up students, because that had a huge impact on our cost per equalized pupil. That's the change that you're seeing from last time to this time. Because I'll remind the community, here's what we did. Here's what's going on in this budget. From a level service budget, jumping now for you to page 100. Okay. From this budget that we're operating in this year, we are actually adding in a 0.5 FTE physical education position that was grant funded this year. It'll be in the local budget next year. And we're adding in a projected 800,000. We're adding 800,000 to cover projected costs of out of district placed special education kids, an increased cost that's there. We've talked about everything that we're talking about now. We've been having the conversation. We eliminated the assistant superintendent position and replaced it with a director of curriculum and student achievement. We eliminated the associate principal position at the Randolph Union High School and restructured responsibilities within the high school. We eliminated the assistant director of special education position, which is 0.5 local and 0.5 funded through the IDEA grant. And we're replacing it with an inclusion type specialist funded position through Medicaid, surplus, and IDEA funds. There's sufficient funds to sustain that for well over 3 years. We're removing an unfilled OSSD level intervention position, and we're transitioning teacher laptops to high-end Chromebooks. Those are the things that made it so that we are looking at that cost per pupil decrease. Okay.
So when you say that there's 28 students added, you said we had a running history that was kind of level, those number of students. Does that mean that there have been 28 students that have been found to have the free and reduced lunch
Oh.
so that they could come as two?
So there's some of that going on. There's some students that were being claimed by a different town. There are all kinds of different reasons why students weren't claimed. And they spent a lot of time finding those students and getting OSSD the credit for those students. Right? Okay. So everything that I told you right now, I know I can stand by. I can put my fist right onto the table and say, everything I told you, that's all factual. It's all good. I'm strong there. We're signed off. We shift to the part of the meeting that I know you want to talk about because you want to know what's that mean for my taxes. And certainly the community watching this wants to know what it means for their taxes. Robin and I start that conversation with, well, everything that I'm about to say now is my best guess. It's a projection. And it's a projection now that's based on a lot of solid numbers and one number that still needs to be decided. And the only place that that can get decided is in the legislature and with the governor's signature, and that is setting the yield. So what we did to model these rates that we're going to talk about tonight is we assumed that the legislature and the governor would take the tax commissioner level or tax commissioner's letter at face value and just adopt that yield. It's almost never happens that way. And I did hear the governor in his speech to the legislature talking about paying the tax rate down. So in all likelihood, what I'm telling you as the projections, it's likely that the projections are higher than what will come. If they do what the governor is talking about doing, your tax rates would be lower than what I'm talking about. So, but saying that, I'm saying these are my projections, and I'm gonna Robin's and my projections, and we're sticking to them. Okay. So the very first thing that you need to know is that you all start out with an equalized homestead tax rate, right? And that's before the local common level of appraisal really gets applied to that. Well, good news here. We project that at $1.7561 cents. $1. Really know how to say that number. It's so detail oriented. It's essentially $1.76. Okay. That is a decrease of 4.22% from last year's rate of $1.83. Okay. So important to know that that number is before common level of appraisal really comes into it. The state did do some things with the formula. They kind of put a statewide CLA number into play, but this number doesn't include your local CLAs. And we brought the tax rate down 4.22%. That's on page 101. And now I'm going to change to page 102 again. I'll finish where I started. And what you're looking at here is the chart that has the rates as we predict them. Okay. And so what you're looking at here, you'll see that we had been projecting that Braintree's tax rate might go down, but your CLA really dropped. And so it ate that all up. And we are at a 2-cent essentially increase at 2 cents per hundred at Braintree. What you see with that is if we apply that to a $250,000 home, we're looking at about a $97 increase for the year. Brookfield, same thing, a little bit, just slightly more of an increase, but right about 2 cents. Sorry, I did that backwards, 4 cents. It's a 4 cents at Brookfield and it's a 4 cents at Braintree. Okay. And that's what those numbers equate to, essentially $100. In Randolph, it's a 2 cent increase overall. which is $50. It's a little less than 2, so it's 42. Okay. So in a time where the governor and the legislature are talking about 12% increases on tax rates in towns, we're nowhere near that. We've held it really responsibly. I told you how we did it, what we've got, where we're at, and I think that my suggestion, my recommendation to you would be, and you'll notice that in this agenda, Ann, Emil, and I crafted some possible motions. I crafted some possible motions. They encouraged me to. The motion that I would encourage you to make in regard to the budget would be to, it's right there on the paper. I've moved to authorize the OSSD expenditure budget in the amount of $29,159,606. Once you make that motion, if you do, that opens you up to the discussion and it'll keep you moving along, and that's where you could ask questions.
So I'm ready to make that motion.
I'm happy to make that motion. I move to authorize the OSSD expenditure budget in the amount of $29,159,600.
Do I have a second? Second from Melissa. And so now we're open up. to
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Opposed? Now you're two opposed, yeah.
Opposed,
Abstentions?
abstentions. Okay,
So motion carried unanimously.
carries. So we have no discussion.
Well,
I don't get the door for discussion.
Oh, okay, but we moved right along. Okay. So next up is the RTCC budget.
oh, I did skip you, didn't I? I did skip you. You did not have discussion.
We did not have discussion.
I'm sorry. Once you had the motion and the second, and then you're, yep.
We went right to approving, so I think people, us, we've been looking at this a while and it came in lower than we expected, so
Thank you for all your hard work.
yeah.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Incredible work this season.
It's exciting.
It was very uninteresting. Like,
We're trying to nice stuff.
It's a nice change from last year.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so we'll move on to the RTCC budget.
Okay, so the RTCC budget, the information that you're looking for there is on page, I have sections of the board packet. The part that I'm going to talk about are on page, I'm just go with page 8. So 8 and 9 are going to be the sections that I'm at. And then, Robin, while you're looking, will you just make sure the other two pieces that maybe are there, what pages those are on for me? Okay. So you know how important the student numbers were for the OSSD budget and how it helped us lower the cost per equalized pupil? The RTCC budget operates a little bit differently. And essentially what happens with that is it operates off of a 6-semester average number of students. And that number has been declining for the last 6 semesters. So when you look at that, I need you to see what that decline looks like so that it's really clear. Tomorrow night, there's an RTCC RAB meeting, and they also have to look at this budget because while you approve it, they also have some say in it. So away we go with that. But you can see that in spring of 2023, we're at 137. And in spring of 2025, we reported 85. So it's been a really significant decrease over the 6 semesters. We're currently running at, or we reported for the fall, 99 students this year. And we are slightly below that if things stay where they are right now when we report this spring, still in the 90s, but less than 99. Okay. If we presented to you a level service budget for RTCC, you would see a tuition increase that exceeded 26%. And, you know, based on feedback from you in the past, local community, the communities around us, we didn't think for a minute that 26% tuition increase was going to work. In fact, if we go back and we adopt a different RTCC budget, it impacts the OSSD budget, right? So what we did hear clearly from you back in this budget process was when we brought you a 5%, I think it was 5.08 or so, expenditure budget increase, you were okay with that. It sounded like early on in the process, you wanted us to keep working and bringing it down. But if we're starting at 508 and that was our worst case scenario, you were feeling pretty good. So that's what we worked on. We looked at this and said, how do we go from a 26% increase down to a 5 or so percent increase? And in order to do that, we had to reduce $550,000 out of the expenditure budget. Here's how we're proposing that we get there. A general supply line decrease of 72,200 that people have gone through, carefully looked at that and said, hey, we can keep running those programs if we don't have that. Sort of makes a little bit of sense, right? We were used to buying supplies for 137 kids in programs, and now down in the 90s and lower. So there's some logic that just kind of fits in there, and I think that's kind of what we're looking at. I think the other thing that has happened is clearly we've had, with our numbers decreasing, it's really hard to justify a director and an assistant director. And so talking about this proposal replaces the assistant director with a 0.5 dean of students position and represents $109,000 worth of savings. Then we've got to look at programs. And so you've heard us talk about, and certainly the RAB has heard us talk about low enrollment programs. And we've been targeting those low enrollment programs. I think one of the things that's been interesting that we have to work on is we've targeted the Perkins number. So Perkins is a grant that helps fund technical centers. In order to run a program, you essentially need 8 students. It's not necessarily the break-even point for a program. So people have targeted that, but if all of our programs were only at 8 students, we'd still be in trouble financially in the long run. So we have the health careers program right now that is on hold. We've been working on a curriculum. We've been working to try to stand it up and to get it back going for us. It's still not generating interest. We currently have, so there's no students in the program now because it's on hold. And through all of the advertising, all of the looking for students to sign up, we are at 3 students. I think it's time now to say, okay, given that we need to cut $555,000, this will have a big impact on a small number of kids. And so overall, the impact on kids is small. Saves $123,000 in salary and benefits and an additional $20,000 that wasn't included in the other supply lines. All right. And then our criminal justice program. Currently, the enrollment in that program is 6 students. We have been very clear that program was low enrolled last year. We were clear that if we didn't have 8 students by January 1st, that program was in jeopardy of needing to close. And now we are having to take that action, I think. So $125,855 in salary and benefits and $16,010 in supply lines. So our next reduction is to reduce the work-based learning coordinator position. This was a position that was one FTE when there were 137 kids, and so now that we have less kids, I think we need to look at it and say, hey, we're gonna reduce that by 0.5, and we're anticipating a $45,000 savings there. Overall, I'm sorry, one last thing. This is the accounting maneuver. Rather than trying to cut anything else, I think the cuts are really significant here. I think they're really there's a lot of change going on with that. Rather than going in, we talked about the possibility of reducing the front office position, the person who answers the phone and greets you at the door, to be a morning only. But in the end, I think with the changes that we've already put into place, here's where it makes sense to use a little bit of funds from the tech center. Has a surplus line, and $38,000 from that surplus line brings us to a total reduction of $515,109, and would result in a tuition rate of $24,695, which is 5.13% higher than this year. And while nobody likes cutting programs and making these kind of reductions, we have to be fiscally prudent. It did bring the attention to, so on Friday, we met with the RTCC, C2Cs, I hope I got there, faculty, and talked this through. I will draw your attention, as I did theirs, to the expenditure budget for RTCC is going to be $3,605,569 with this proposal. And I know y'all can do the math real quickly there, that if we were looking strictly at 100 students that we have, the tuition rate that supports that is 36,000. So the tuition rate at the moment is being subsidized by the 6-semester average. And you see back at the beginning, we're going to be replacing 136 and 126, likely with numbers more like 199, hope not 85, but numbers that are going down. So we're not going to be out of the woods here until the program, the RTCC, grows, we get more enrollment. If we continue on the pace that we are right now, we'll be looking at other program reductions next year.
Sense of why enrollment has basically collapsed. It's a significant percentage of the population is basically very suddenly. And things that we can do about it, like, what's the problem? Is it a fixable problem?
Yeah. So I think part of what's driving this is we've restructured some of our schools in that, like Rochester High School, they're in our catchment area. They now have school choice, and some of those kids go to Hartford, right? Hartford's not in our catchment area. So if you're a Rochester kid who goes to Hartford or goes to Hartford High School in 9th and 10th grade, you're not coming to our technical center at that point. That's also true of Chelsea. So there's some structural piece there. I think part of what's going on, so overall, there's declining enrollment in Vermont. We're seeing that. And I think that we have to do a better job. And the folks that watch this online who were in the meeting on Friday, we got to figure out how to balance the relationships, the rigor, and the relevance within these programs so that kids definitely want to come. We've got to find the programs that kids are coming to. When you look at our electrical program right now, right? Numbers are really solid in that in that class. When you look at our diesel program, when we got started at the beginning of the year, we maybe could have opened a second diesel program, and we probably are still close to being able to open 2 diesel programs that each had 8 kids in them, right? So automotive, we think we're getting close to getting that back up online. That's on hold this year because we haven't been able to find a teacher. I think we've finally found a teacher. The teacher came in and did a demonstration lesson and got really positive results with the kids, so that's helpful. I think that the culinary program is talking again about getting out into the community and being a part of that. I think that's a part of what happens in a technical center is we've got to be seen in the community, and the kids have to feel like, hey, I'm making a difference here. I think that's what they sign up for. So I don't know if I think part of a challenge that is considered in this is that we have a full day technical center program, which means that when our kids leave their schools, they don't get to go back at all. For instance, my understanding is like Barry's technical center program, the kids go back for a class in the afternoon. And so they're still connected to their high school. Do we need to work with the AOE to completely get us restructured and say, hey, is our structure right? And the AOE right now is trying to move more towards our structure, but
I really like the idea of having kids still having that connection to their high school, in part because of the social piece and the community piece, and in part because, I mean, just ensuring that they're still getting access to the same kind of variety of classes and rigor and academic support that might be harder in a similar program. But the thing so I like that idea that I just heard, but I was also going to just ask about, I understand that these are necessary essentially with the numbers that we have, but I do wonder about the spiral that cutting programs can create of like, you're cutting programs, so then why, then fewer kids would be interested. And so one question I have that I think would help you get a sense of that is, do we know if these 9 students that are interested in programs that we would cut, do we know if they would switch to other programs at RTCC or would they decline to it at all?
both,
Okay.
right? So it's a mix of that.
2 questions. One, comment if you can on where the sending students are. How many of them are Randolph people that are local and how many are from the various other schools that come? The second one is maybe geared towards the health professionals in our midst here. What impact do you see on the 3 students not having the opportunity for the health?
I think you're giving the health professionals the easy question. I want that one, Martha. Can I do that one? Can I do that one first and then the other one? So I think that in reality, what we're looking at is we have put a lot of work into a curriculum for the LNA program. And the reality of it is you can get an LNA in pretty short time. It doesn't have to be a whole year every day, 6.5 hours a day. That's a lot of time for an LNA program. So what we would be looking at within this budget is trying to get a program, an evening program up for the LNA. So while we wouldn't offer a program during the school day for our kids, we would be looking at potentially putting together an LNA program. And so we're working on some of the staffing for that and whatnot to see if that works. That's my first take on that, but I'll leave it to the health professionals after that.
I think the only thing I add to that is there's been a lot of investment at the state level, and there continues to be more investment around a sort of a pipeline to healthcare that was not necessarily inclusive or exclusive of technical centers. So there is, we're in general across any field, but to take a discipline and it's hard to hide with everything. Giffords had a full-time HE position open since October of 2024. So that's, you know, serves their inpatient.
Do you-
That's just.
Do you have
one
the numbers
example.
for the rest of the? I'm guessing you don't.
So there's a
You do?
lot of money sort of post-secondary for that. And I think that's generally working well for nursing. I know a lot of it.
So it's not creating a shortage in any fashion or, you know.
We already have a shortage and most students is a drop in the bucket. Yeah.
Okay.
For that particular form of education, there are a lot of alternatives. The value of the technical centers
Oh, yeah.
is in offering education programs you can't easily find in other places, or you can't easily access as a high school.
Beautiful.
Yeah, or jumpstarts you on a, what's this, an apprenticeship.
Right. If you can't. Correct me if I'm wrong, I was in 11th grade, you're not gonna start an electrical apprenticeship, but you can get technical training at the high school level, finish your high school education, you can start on a career path. Again, head start on a career path. But there's not really another avenue for outside of that. But for an LMA, there are several other avenues to that outside of school. But you could do school and that. Not just one of the other.
All right, so Martha, on the numbers side of things, I have it split up by, I have it split up by grade level there. So I can tell you town by grade level, or I can give you this math later. If you want it right now,
I mean, there's 34 from RUHS out of the 9.
Well, I would just
Just-
more. So
yeah.
that's-
That explains a lot, actually.
And you've got, you don't have Chelsea anymore because they're going to,
Not all, I'm just saying, not all, but that explains some of the reduction from 20 something to 90 something.
if
I was
Chelsea
trying to
kids,
figure out who your sending schools were anymore, but.
well, so
Chelsea, I
here,
think-
so what I tell you, so I'll give you the numbers in the way that you want them. So in 10th grade, Spalding has 2, we have 3 in 11th, and we have 4 in 12th. Okay? Kids that come to us from U32, because remember that the Central Vermont Career Center was having problems and we're taking some of their overflow and sending a bus. Yes. Right? And so U32 has, we get 9 in 10th grade, 8 in 11th, and 8 in, 4. No, I'm going back to 8 in 12th. I think. All right. And then Williamstown, 2 in 10th, 6 in 11th, 4 in 12th. And White River Valley, 2 in 11th, and 1 in 12th. And there's it's like 2 from Harwood and 1 from Montpelier.
This one's asking harder questions.
Man, come on, give me the easy ones.
Any sense of what it is historically?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna move us along just because we're quite off on our time in here. And remember that there is a RAB representation, so it gives you something. I am currently the board member on the Regional Advisory Board for the Tech Center, but if it's something that you feel passionately about, or you have, when we do our reorg, that might be a position that you have to take, but it has to be represented. So I need a motion for the proposed budget.
I move to authorize the RTCC expenditure budget in the amount of $3,605,569.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Neil. Any discussion? We did a lot of discussion, so we we're good to go. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, next up, we have the Raven budget.
We're looking at the Raven budget in an expenditure amount of 347,436 Ravens. The alternative program that we run in-house, we take students from other schools, districts, and that let us expand the enrollment there. That's basically, everything else was just cleaning up the budget as we explained it at the very start. No big changes there. Page 1. Oh, where the actual budget is?
Ask for a motion before we start discussing this. Things along.
I move to authorize the Raven expenditure budget in the amount of $347,000. 400. What year is that? 347,436,000. And boy, you made that a really hard number to say. No thanks. $447,436.
Perfect. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Brian. So any discussion about the Raven budget?
There's you want to highlight that one.
And just so I heard you correctly, other than the research solutioning into this program.
Yes.
So, no other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? It passes.
I do have a question. We might be able to hear from them, give it PowerPoint or something. Just tell us a little bit about their school.
If you guys want that, just let me know and we'll put it on the
We've
agenda.
discussed that before.
So remember, if you want an item on the agenda, we can talk to, myself and we'll see if we can get it in there.
Budget timeline,
Budget timeline.
pages 105, 106, 107. You've seen every packet that you've had since the budget season started. And I would suggest that you just look there if you want to refresh for yourself where we are in that timeline. The reality of it is the only part of that timeline that's left after tonight is on page 107. And
Setting that informational budget meeting.
that's right. You're going to have to do that.
Okay. Do you have a proposed date? You do, right? Did I see it in here? Where did I see it? I have a proposed date.
You did. It's on page 12.
So, just to remind board members, this is when, we reach out to all of our community members, hopefully Braintree, Randolph, and, Michael presents sort of where we are with the budget, and it's an opportunity for the public to ask questions. So it's nice if board members can make this meeting. And usually we've had it in the media center. I don't know.
Auditorium.
Oh, you did it in the
On the
auditorium.
stage.
The sound stage is ready.
Right line seat.
Wait, but that's different from the budget information. There's two. There's the annual school district meeting that gets chaired by Kelly Green. And then there's the budget information. Okay,
Those are the same thing. No?
No,
Two
we've
different
done,
meetings.
we've
One is
done
on a
a,
Thursday night before the annual,
Okay.
so it's a lot more, it's a lot less formal. But it's in the electronic.
The
And
annual meeting we need a quorum for. Do we need a quorum for the info meeting?
no.
I don't think we did last year.
So what's the other date?
And the annual meeting, we haven't.
Is on-
necessarily had a quorum either. The annual meeting, the annual
not
Sorry.
school district meeting is sort of a holdover from when all the different, before we were unified.
Got it.
So. And usually in that one, we just go through the warning. Or Kelly Green will be the moderator and she'll go through the warning. We elect the moderator, the
Clerk,
treasurer.
treasurer.
Right, but usually. Yeah, and then
And
then there's usually, well, in the past, we've done an informational meeting about the budget.
and you've done that on the Thursday, the 26th.
Yes.
Right. So we're in page
So it's
page
Thursday,
12.
the
Page
20
12 talks about your informational meeting, and then page 13 talks about your annual school board meeting, the in-person part and the part that's voted on by Australian ballot.
Right, and so, right, and so the February 26th one. Usually more people show up, well, I don't know. I don't think I was. But anyway, so. We know the date, so.
What's the action in parentheses on the agenda next to information?
Well, I thought we
have to
had
vote
to
on the
set, I
information
think we
meeting?
had
I think
to
we-
set the date for the,
I think you're going to end up why don't you move to approve the warning on page
Warning
12?
is Monday, March 2nd and Monday, March 4th.
Yeah, but it's not it's. So we need to do the Thursday meeting first. We need to
Yep.
warn that first, and then March 2nd meeting.
I move to approve the warning for the February 26th meeting as presented in the agenda.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor? And aye.
I-
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, passes.
Okay. And then in order to warn your other meeting, you've got to make some decisions around your ballot. Right?
10 and 11 would be those ends.
Because you got to make the decisions. So here,
Okay, 1 second. The warning on page 13, in the header, it says Monday, March 2nd. In the paragraph, it says Monday, March 4th. So we just need an amendment, a little edit there.
Should be the second.
Oh, right here. Yeah. Oh. Nicely done, Sam.
I got 2 screens.
He's also
The
the
digits
bottom,
of the second one too.
Beverly's name is spelled. You have an R in the end. Yeah, first name.
Where all their names are.
Okay.
to have the logistics of the typos cleaned up. What you have to do is you have to make a decision about Article 10 and Article 11. Okay? So this corresponds to page, making that decision corresponds to page 102 of your packet. And so what you have going on here is you've traditionally had two reserve accounts. You've had more than that, but you have two reserve accounts that you transfer surplus to. One of those reserve accounts is your operation reserve account. That's Article 10. And so what's going on with the operational reserve is in the budget that you've approved for OSSD, you're using $753,000 worth of money out of that operational reserve. You're scheduled to use again next year, 753,000, and there's already that 753 in there. And then that year after that, we're not supposed to be operating, right? So you've got this coming year, there's 753 in it already. The year after that, you have 400,000 in it, right? So you're well on your way to having 753. And the reason 753 is important to me is if you don't put 753 in that, then you've got the financial cliff that we've got to make up. But we've still got this year, next year, and one more year's budget to make that up if we needed to. So where Robin and I are is, let's not put money into the operational reserve this year because we're not sure what's going to happen with it, right? And if we need to, we know we're within like less than 500,000. You know the exact number. I don't. So we're within 353,000 of what we would need in there. Let's see what happens in the legislature this year, and let's not go out. Let's take a break from the operational fund. So my recommendation would be to not have the operational fund be Article 10. Instead, we're recommending that you move the full surplus from 2024, 2025 into the reserve for capital improvement. It's going to offset the projects that we just talked about, are going to spend down what's in the reserve account right at the moment pretty heavily. Part of a reserve account under statute is you're supposed to have the money not stay in it for more than 5 years. So you're gonna accomplish that. But then there is a new magic number of the reserve, the projected reserve that we're going to put into the account is 1,887,000. And we didn't get all kinds of fancy zeros for that, Emil. So just zeros. I didn't make it complicated. Yeah. So that would be the suggestion that we're making. So in order to warn that morning, the first thing you have to do is make a decision what you're doing with Article 10 and Article 11.
So we're saying 0 into the operational.
I would say that if you put 0 in the operational reserve, then we're going to delete. We're going to delete it. We're going to delete it. Yeah. Right.
And the new number is 1,873,000. No, 1,887,000. Okay. So can I have a motion to put money into the building, OSSD building reserve fund?
Which one is opposed to that? And morning with the numbers and the article. And so.
Well, but first we have to put the money into.
No, the voters won't.
Oh. I thought we allocated. No?
We allocate once it's there.
Okay, so, all right,
So I would like to move to amend the warning for the OSSD annual school district meeting warning.
Yes, you, yes. The union, that's what. That's what it says at the top.
We're not the orange Southwest School District.
We're DBA, the technical name is the Orange Southwest Unified Youth District.
Okay. Martha, would you like to take it?
But we also want to make sure that the date corrections get taken care of there too. That the 4 in the first paragraph there gets changed to a 2. And then,
So are you making the motion?
so I move that we amend the warning that we have in our packet to the OSSU-USD annual school district meeting to be held on Monday, March 2nd, 2026. And that date would be consistently used for mention of the meeting thereafter. And that we omit Article 10 as it is presented here. And then what will be Article 10 to include on that blank line the 1,887,000 to be put into the 2024-25 school year building reserve fund.
And we're gonna make sure that Beverly's name is an author.
Is that part of this
It
as
is.
well?
Yeah,
Okay, all right, yes, put it on our Beverly's.
okay, do I have a second? Seconded by Beverly. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So it's passed. Okay,
Thanks for that, Martha.
that was a long motion. Okay, so now,
Did you get it?
so that was the approval of the warning.
You're there.
So we did that. Board seats on the ballot. So just checking in, Beverly, you were appointed, so you are up. Have you decided whether you want to stay?
I would like to.
Okay,
I have to
and,
get that process.
okay. Oh, it's too bad you didn't bring your thing because we could have signed it, but the library also lets you leave.
I saw a bunch of things there.
So, yes. Sam, you are also up. You're hiding your face, part of your face. What's going on?
I choose not to decide right now.
At this point, okay. Please, as the chair, I would appreciate it if you could let me or Anil know, just so that, and maybe if you're going to choose not to run, to help us generate some interest from a fellow fielder.
Certainly,
It's all yours.
certainly. I have not been sitting on my hands on that front.
Feel the night.
Aware of anybody else that is tossing their hat in or anything moving on that front?
There are some people interested, yes.
All right. So we are gonna keep moving then to, sports staff negotiations update.
You all who are on that committee know I've reached out on a couple of different occasions. I've blind copied you on it so that you know I'm reaching out. I have a meeting with the leadership tomorrow. I'm hopeful that they will commit at that meeting tomorrow.
The annual report from the board to the voters, that is the letter that goes in glossy brochure that voters get with that budget information and just an overall report and what's going on in our school. Hopefully you all had a chance to read through it. Yes, that's it. And I'm looking for a motion to are you checking?
I'm super aware.
Welcome to the club.
You did mention your appointment to the board, so. Yes. Okay. I'll move to approve the annual report as discussed. Seconded by Emil. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay. Abstentions? Okay, it passed. So, Sam, you were gonna reach out to legislators. How's it going? Or have you been able to?
yeah, I've got an email drafted to all of them. I'm waiting to get newly appointed Senator Benson's email. Hopefully I'll have it tonight.
Okay, awesome. Do you need any help from any board members or you got this?
I think I got it.
Okay, super. Any questions for Sam? All right, we're gonna keep moving on. Policy governance training, remember that's our virtual training. You'll get a link sent from Michael coming up on January 22nd. In the evening. Or is that 6 or 7? One of the others. I think it's that 6.
6.
So be aware of that. I'm gonna move along to monitoring. Last meeting, we had the monitoring reports from Michael. There was 2.4 financial planning and budgeting. He's had a great experience with it, on previous budget season. I just saw one typo in the on page 15, Michael. This information is included in the annual warning ballot and results. It's right in this says this.
Didn't run it through AI.
And AI didn't find.
I didn't run it through
Oh, you
AI.
did run it
See what
through AI.
happens.
So you know it's offensive.
That's authentic. Yes. Yes, that's how Ryan knows I didn't cheat. I made up for it with the board packet.
And then, I'm just gonna remind board members that, with the second, EL 2.5, the emergency superintendent succession, Michael gave us a brief update. He's gonna give us his final update. So we may wanna approve that one contingent on getting sort of the final details in February. Or we can take it with knowing that we'll get those in February. I guess that would be.
I would say,
whoever
why don't
wants
we
to move.
table the vote to approve it once we have those.
Okay,
Hold up
so,
other work.
so I will need a motion then for either, for the 2.4 financial planning and budgeting.
I move to approve executive compensations 2.4.
We have a second.
Second.
Seconded by Brian. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Passes. And, we need a motion, I think we need a motion to table the emergency EL 2.5 till the next meeting.
I would like to move tabling EL 2.5 until February, so we have a complete executive limitation.
Second.
Right. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we're moving on. Financials, how are things looking?
It's all Robin.
Robin.
So things are good. We're on track. We're doing fine. I would anticipate a surplus. Nothing out of the ordinary. If Robin wasn't here, that's what I would say Robin said.
Okay, nice. Okay, so we're gonna move on. These are first readings for those required policies that the district will have. Do you want to tell us anything about them? Or?
Criminal history record check policy is a new policy that in order for us to be able to have access to the criminal records check system, we need to pass that policy. And then B2, C10, and C4 are all as you've adopted them in the past. However, within the policy, it names specific people. So to be safe, I put them back through the policy process with a first read and a second read with just the people that are in it.
Any questions for Michael about these policies? And again, these are required policies. They're vetted through the SBA as a district. Michael's job is to make sure that we have them, like the board has seen them and we adopt them.
I think have specific needs. They have to be updated and somebody will see what's just
That's true.
the way to person named more generic for the position they hold. Right.
So I reached out to VSBA with that exact work. So my first workaround, Rachel, would be to move the names to procedure so that I could just change them and not put the procedure into the policy.
Yeah.
Right? And that you're talking about the second way, changing it to the title of what the person is. Right now, the information that we had was that these are the policies that have to be the way that they are. And I don't have an answer from the VSBA getting back to me in a different way. So I'm just being safe as opposed to being sorry down the road.
We just need to be vigilant.
When things change, yep.
Okay, so next up, we have two policies. If you remember at the last board meeting, I mislabeled them on our agenda, so we had to table it. So we are looking at 4.5, which is board members' conduct, and then 4.6 is the committee principles. So remember, in policy governance, they don't like you to have, well, they don't like you to have lots of standing committees for a long time. They like you to have duration, and assignment, clear charge, make sure that committee's not overstepping down in terms of delegation. So hopefully people got a chance to review those. I would these are, we do have some folks on the board who or have thousands who are in the district, but whenever anything's come up, those folks have made it clear, so we all know and what that's.
And you're at 5% battery and something's going on with your power adapter.
Uh-oh.
You may want to pick up the pace.
Okay,
I had a quick comment on the, it's page 49 here. I mentioned it the last time, the word ownership, I think it's, what's here should potentially be, community friendly. And those of us on the board have been through the training and understand the word ownership, but honestly, I would prefer to see that wording be, loyalty to the community that, whole that, operates the district or something along that line.
that's, are you making a motion well, at this point, we're looking, are we in compliance?
Okay.
If you would like to look at the wording of this policy, we could.
Well, that was the one that stood out to me the most as I looked over things again.
Oh, we just lost.
Hello? Alice back.
There's the owl.
Okay, you guys are not going to get the owl, but here you go. We'll finish out old school.
All right, so. I'm gonna move on unless, and again, Martha, if you'd like to have us.
Does that need to be amended now or?
No,
does it-
no, no, no,
okay.
no, no. If you wanna have us look at this policy, if you can let us know, we can put it on the agenda.
Okay.
We'll see. Let's see. So be prepared to, and you might consider, coming to the January 22nd, our policy governance training, because you can bring that up, like how do you manage, because then part of the issue is just the language of policy governance. We refer to the ownership. We know what that means. These are our policies, so we need to be able to follow them. But it might be a good topic for that stuff. So, okay. So moving on to the consent agenda. There are a number of things on the consent agenda that have to be done this time of year. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as a whole.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Ryan. Any discussion? Any questions? So people got a chance to look at the minutes from 2 meetings we had. Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Any extensions? Okay, that passes. So next up, we're on the superintendent's report. And
So in the packet, in the robust packet that you have a pretty robust superintendent's report as well. Given the hour, I would say that I would point you in the direction of, there's a draft 2026, 2027 calendar that has to be adopted via the Regional Technical Center, Central Vermont and White River Valley are on board with what we have there. And our association, I sent a copy to see if they have any input as well.
Question. Wasn't statewide calendar supposed to be
So
this year in the big plan that may or may not happen
next year,
next year?
I won't have to do this.
Yeah, are they really going to make it so that, they've always had winter break so that half the state is 1 week and half the state is another? Is that going to be removed? Will be a shortage for the ski resorts?
No, we mostly removed that last year. The north and the south had the same vacation, with the exception of a couple small outliers. We got an agreement on the February and the April dates last year. And I believe that we're close to that as a superintendent's association this year. And the following year, there was supposed to just be one statewide calendar adopted by the AOE. Okay. And then I would also point out in here, thank Kara Houston for her service as the Brookfield principal. She has submitted her resignation effective June 30th. So I will get a process up and going to get a principal hired that will include faculty, staff, community members, maybe even students. Happy to talk about anything else in the superintendent's report. Nope.
it's on the table.
When you walked in, so I apologize for the timing. I may have given away all of my copies of it too. I had that copy. Right. So you'll recall that one of the things that we started doing this year is the principals and their faculties and staffs are sharing different things that happen towards the ends that you have identified and adopted. And this will help us get to the end of the year. What was our progress towards the ends? And so, again, this is a tricky month with vacation. Since your last meeting, we had 2 weeks of vacation. And I think that has a little bit of an impact on the different pieces that we necessarily identified. But still, lots of really great things happening that are specifically moving towards the ends. And I think it's helpful for you and the community to see it. So Kyle will make sure that since it didn't end up in the packet, that it ends up in the minutes. That's a copy code.
Is there anything in this that you were like, wow, that's awesome that we're getting that done? Any super highlights?
I encourage you to look at it all,
Just
and
look through it all. Okay.
there's lots of really cool things happening. So what I've done for this, and part of what's driving this, is every time I have a cabinet meeting, the opening activity, the team builder, if you will, for the cabinet meeting is like today we did the first section and people shared what was happening in their school and then put it into the spreadsheet that we've got going on. And And next week we'll be doing section 1.2 or 2 or whatever it is. And then the following week, the third section, so that it's actually it's becomes more of a lived document. It's not like we just get to the end and say, what did we do? And hopefully that helps you too. Helps you realize to say, hey, these are the things that we said that we were interested in. Here were the big areas, and here's the little ways that we're interpreting it. You'll still get your big end of the year ends report.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our regular meeting. So we'll come back to see Sam's gonna keep working on the legislators. Everyone's gonna try and make the 26th informational meeting if they can, as well as the second in our school district meeting on March 2nd. We will be looking forward to the succession EL 2.5, just further details on that. That is it. So next, we are needing to go into executive session, and I grabbed this is one of those executive sessions where we need two motions, so we need a motion first to, all right.
He's there.
So we are coming out, we are ready to adjourn now at 8:52 from our regular meetings.